In the hills of Meghalaya, where the clouds don't float above you, but around you, there is a village so soaked in rain that its name literally means the place of stone rains. Locals call it Sora. The world calls it cherrapunji. This is not just a story parents tell to keep children indoors when the mist rolls in. In March of 2011, 3 hikers, students from Shillong, went missing on the ridge above a village called Maolong. Only one came back. What she said happened to her is the reason this legend is still whispered today.
To understand what happened on that ridge, you have to go back, long before British missionaries mapped these hills, long before the word Meghalaya, abode of clouds, existed. The Khasi people are matrilineal. Property, name, and lineage pass through the mother, not the father. Daughters are the keepers of the house, the Ka'ing. And according to the oldest stories, this tradition itself was born from tragedy. There were 3 sisters. The eldest was called Ka'likai's kin by some tellings, though elders will tell you this is a different Ka'likai, not the waterfall you may have heard of. In this version, there is no single tragic mother. There are 3. Ialbei, Khmi, and the youngest, only ever called Karungi, the quiet one. They lived in a village at the edge of a sacred forest, what the Khasi call a law kintang, a grove where no tree may be cut, no branch broken, no leaf taken. These forests are protected not by law, but by fear, because something lives in them, something old. The story says the sister's mother died giving birth to the youngest, and their father, unable to bear 3 daughters alone, made a bargain with the spirit of the grove, a spirit called Urinkeu, guardian of the land, for protection and prosperity. In exchange, 1 daughter would belong to the forest. He never said which one. He never said when.
For years, nothing happened. The daughters grew. The eldest became known for her wisdom, the middle for her voice. Some say she could call birds down from the canopy just by singing. And the youngest, Karengi, for her silence. She rarely spoke. When she did, elders say the room went cold. Then came the night of the first harvest moon after Karengi turned 16. She walked into the forest. She did not come back. Here is where the legend splits into 2 versions, and where things start to feel less like folklore and more like a cover-up. Version 1, the one told to children. Karengi was taken by the forest spirit as payment for the bargain. Her sisters searched for 7 days and 7 nights, and on the 7th night, they heard her voice, not speaking, but singing, from somewhere deep in the grove. They followed it. They were never seen again either. The village elders declared the grove cursed and forbade anyone from entering. To this day, in several villages around Sohara, guides will walk you around certain forest boundaries, never through them. Version 2 is uglier, and it's the one that older Khasi grandmothers tell only when the children have gone to bed. In this version, Karongai did not walk into the forest willingly. The father, desperate and drowning in debt to a neighboring clan, chose her, the quiet one, the one least likely to be missed, to fulfill the bargain himself. He led her to the grove under the pretense of gathering herbs. He came back alone. When the 2 remaining sisters discovered what he'd done, they didn't cry. They didn't scream. They performed a ritual, one that doesn't appear in any officially recorded Khasi customs, one anthropologists have only found scraps of in oral histories from 3 isolated villages, all suspiciously consistent in detail, despite being separated by miles of impossible terrain.
They are said to have gone into the grove themselves at night, carrying nothing but a black thread and a bowl of rice beer, and they called out to whatever had taken their sister, not to curse it, to join it. And that is why, in Khasi belief, 3 specific things are still avoided in villages near old sacred groves: whistling after dark in the forest, speaking a woman's name 3 times in an empty room, and, this is the strange one, leaving 3 of anything outside your door at night. 3 stones, 3 flowers, 3 anything. Because the sisters, it's said, are still looking for a 4th. Now, let's talk about what happened in 2011, because this is where the story stops being something whispered by grandmothers and starts having a police file attached to it. 3 friends, we'll call them by the initials used in the regional press at the time, since 2 of the families requested privacy, D, I, and R, were second-year students at a college in Shillong. In March, during a break, they went to Sora for what Dee's family later described as a photography trip. They wanted shots of the living root bridges, the waterfalls swollen with pre-monsoon rain, the famous double-decker bridge near Nongriat. They hired a local guide for the first 2 days. On the 3rd day, the guide refused to continue. According to a report later filed with local police and later covered briefly by a regional newspaper, the guide told them the trail they wanted to take, a shortcut over a ridge above Maolong village, ran along the edge of a law kintang. He said his own grandmother had forbidden anyone in his family from entering it. He offered to take them the long way, an extra 4 hours of hiking.
The 3 students, young and confident, decided to go without him. They were never seen alive together again. When the group didn't return to their guest house by nightfall, the guide, to his credit, alerted the village. A search began before dawn. What the searchers found over the next 36 hours is what makes this story different from 100 other hikers went missing stories you've heard. They found Dee's camera first, undamaged, hanging from a tree branch nearly 8 feet off the ground, strap looped neatly around it. Not dropped, not thrown, hung. The photos on the memory card were normal. Waterfalls, root bridges, the 3 of them smiling, until the final 11 images. Villagers who saw the printouts, the camera itself was later handed to police, and, according to family members, its contents were never fully released publicly, described the last photos as out of focus, taken at strange downward angles, as if the camera had been held at waist height and fired blind. In several, there appeared to be a shape in the tree line, pale, tall. Some said it looked like a woman in traditional dress.
Family members dispute how much of this is embellishment that grew with each retelling, but everyone agrees on what was found next. I, the middle of the 3, was found first, alive, sitting cross-legged at the base of an enormous, centuries-old tree at the grove's edge, humming. Not singing words, just a tune, over and over. She had no memory of the previous day. Her shoes were missing. Her feet, according to the medical report filed at the district hospital, were unmarked. No cuts, no bruising, despite having apparently walked barefoot through rocky, root-choked forest for over a day. She was treated for exposure and shock. She recovered physically within a week. She never spoke about what happened in the grove. Not to doctors, not to her family, not, as far as anyone knows, to anyone. until years later, and even then, only once.
D was never found. R was found on the fourth day, deep inside the grove itself, past the point where the search dogs had refused to go 3 days running. He was alive, barely, severely dehydrated, disoriented, repeating a single phrase to the search team when they reached him. He kept saying, "She only wanted 3." Nobody could get him to explain what he meant. He was airlifted to Shillong Civil Hospital. He recovered. He finished his degree the following year. Friends say he changed. Quieter, avoided nature documentaries, wouldn't hike again. Dee's body was never recovered, despite an extended search that lasted almost 3 weeks. The official case remains open, technically, though it hasn't been actively investigated in over a decade.
Here's where the story gets its edge, the part that keeps this legend alive instead of letting it fade into a sad but explainable hiking accident. Nearly 6 years later, in 2017, a folklore researcher from Northeastern Hill University, cataloguing oral histories of sacred groves for an academic paper, interviewed elderly residents of Morlong village about local Law Kintang traditions. Almost as an afterthought, one elder mentioned the incident with the students and said one of the girls, now a young woman, still visited the village sometimes, alone, and had once spoken to her about that day. The researcher, through a village contact, was eventually able to speak briefly with Ai herself. What follows is what Ai reportedly told her, corroborated loosely by the researcher's field notes, though Ai herself has never given an interview to press and declined all further contact afterward.
She said that after the guide turned back, the group had continued along the ridge for perhaps another hour before the fog thickened unnaturally fast, not rolling in gradually the way mountain fog does, but arriving all at once, like a door closing. She said Dee went ahead to get a photo of the fog settling over the valley, the kind of shot that would look incredible on social media, and that when they called after her, she didn't answer, but they could hear her voice, faint, further into the grove than any of them remembered walking. She said R went after her, and she said that she stayed at the tree line, calling their names, and that the fog around her began to hum. Not wind, not insects, a low, layered hum, like more than one voice. She said she counted the voices. There were 3.
And then she said the only thing the researcher noted verbatim, because I repeated it twice, carefully, as if it mattered that it be recorded exactly. They weren't trying to hurt us. They were trying to finish something. And I think they only needed one more. She would not say anything else. She ended the conversation and, according to the researcher's notes, asked that this not be published while Dee's family was still alive to read it. Dee's mother died in 2022. The story only began circulating publicly after that. Here's what should unsettle you more than the ghost story itself. When you go looking, really looking, through district records, old newspaper archives, and local reporting, this is not the only disappearance tied to a Law Kintang in this region. In 1987, 2 loggers, illegally cutting timber near a sacred grove outside Sohra, vanished. One was found alive a week later, 9 kilometers from where he disappeared, with no memory of the intervening time.
In 1996, a British backpacker went missing near Morsmai and was found, disoriented, 3 days later, inside a cave system locals swore had been sealed by a rockfall decades earlier. And in 2011, the same year as D, I, and R, there were at least 2 other reported confusions near sacred groves in the district, minor enough that they never made regional news, dismissed as hikers simply getting lost in difficult terrain.
difficult terrain doesn't explain a hung camera 8 feet off the ground. It doesn't explain unmarked feet after a day of barefoot walking over stone. And it doesn't explain 3 voices in fog that arrives all at once.
Today, if you visit Sora, and you should, it remains one of the most beautiful places on Earth, you'll find guides who are happy to take you to the living root bridges, the waterfalls, the caves. But ask a local guide, quietly, about the sacred groves, the law Kintang, and watch their expression change. Most will simply say, "We don't go there. It's not our forest to enter." Some might tell you about the 3 sisters. Fewer still will tell you it's still happening, that once every few years, someone wanders too close and the fog arrives too fast, and afterward, someone comes back different, quieter, humming a tune they can't explain.
Or doesn't come back at all. Ah is alive today, in his 30s now, living outside Shillong. He has, according to people who know him, never once returned to Sohra. I still visits Maolong. Nobody knows why. And somewhere in that grove, protected not by fences or signs, but by a fear 1,000 years old, the story says there are still 3 voices in the fog, waiting for a 4th. If you ever find yourself hiking in Meghalaya and your guide refuses to go further, don't ask why. Just turn back.